Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you might be around the world. And thank you for joining today's webinar with Naveen Kumar Singh, one of our professional Scrum trainers. And this is your opportunity to ask a professional Scrum trainer. My name is Eric Neiberg, and I run marketing operations here at Scrum.org, and I'll be your host today. Thank you for joining us, Naveen. If we go to the next slide.
Good.
So just briefly, this series is your opportunity to ask your questions of a professional Scrum expert. We try to run one of these each month. And if we don't address your questions, as often we run out of time, we need to try to keep to our time box. We will do our best to address them via email following the session. Next slide. So just briefly, who is Scrum.org? Scrum.org was founded by, and our chairman continues to be Ken Schwaber, one of the creators of Scrum. Ken does a lot of work to really focus on helping organizations, people, and teams dealing with complexity. And that's what Scrum is all about. How do we deal with complex situations, building complex products, and solving complex problems? We offer training, certification, and a lot of free resources to help you be successful. This webinar being one of those resources. Next slide. So with that, I'll let Naveen introduce himself, and we'll get started. Naveen.
Thank you, Eric, and good evening, good morning, good afternoon. For me, it's good evening. I'm in Malaysia. So hello, everyone. My name is Naveen Kumar Singh, as Eric has already said. I work as Lean Agile coach here in Malaysia, and I teach as a Scrum and Scrum-related practices as per the Scrum.org curriculum, program like a Scrum Master, Product Owner, Scrum Developer, and Agile Leadership and all. I am basically a software professional. I'm into software development since 1997. So you can even ask me about the software development question. It should be okay. So this is all about me. If you have any other question, feel free to ask me about how I work and what exactly I do.
Great, thanks, Naveen. Next slide. So just briefly start asking your questions. You'll see in the panel on the GoToWebinar widget that you're all using how to ask those questions. Just open it up, and we're ready to get started when you are. Type those questions in and keep them coming, and we'll go through those as we work through. So if we can get started, let's take the first question here. So Naveen, in Scrum, it's the team's decision for each member to take up the job or say user story. The Scrum Master has less interference at this point. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, and that's the whole objective or a core foundation for Scrum, where you expect that the team is self-organized, and the meaning of self-organized means team decides how to do the work. So if you start interfering in that, then you are not allowing your team to be self-organized. So Scrum Master is there. A Scrum Master ensures that team has plan for the sprint, but the Scrum Master does not tell them that who is going to work on which item and how to distribute the work. All this get done by development team, not by the Scrum Master. And I think this is a quite common question that I usually hear it in my class also. That who will decide that on which item who is going to work, or how will distribute the work. How will people even go and talk about what if a team member is not really interested in doing something, then how will the Scrum Master ensure that somebody has to go and pick up certain work? But these are like, again, I just said, these are the things for development team to take call. If they have query, question, how it works, they can always ask Scrum Master. And Scrum Master can clarify that how to do that. But ultimately, it has to be done by development team.
Great. Thanks, Naveen. So next question, can you describe a little bit. What's the difference between, and Saeed's question here, between traditional project management and management within Scrum?
I think when we say traditional project management, quite often the things that come in our mind is a waterfall way of working, or a spiral model, or some other project management techniques in and around that. Uh, you know, those are processes where a project manager, I mean, where asked a project manager was told, or they got taught, or whatever the way, or the accountability lies with them. It was more like I am the one who is driving it, and I will go and check with the respective team that when they can do it, how I may end up even saying sometimes that how to do it, and then go periodically and start asking about what all has been done, what all has not been done. So you collect the data, prepare a report, and share the status. Um, in a Scrum, the first of all, you are not working for the longer cycle, so you don't really need that kind of data. Probably you need to have different question that whatever the goal that we have for the Scrum for the sprint, are we going to complete the goal? Are we going to meet our goal? So here the management in a Scrum get distributed. A development team is managing how to do the work. A product owner is managing that what needs to be get done to maximize the value. And then you have a Scrum Master who ensure that the processes are getting adopted properly to see the real outcome from there. So the management is not concentrated with the one individual. Here, the management get uh, distributed among all these three roles, and they all have their own share in a management, in a self-organized, in a self-managed environment. So I don't think that there is any comparison between what was traditionally and what we are now in, because comparing is like saying that one was bad, another was good. So I prefer not to compare. Both has their own advantage and disadvantage, or maybe both has been there for different purposes. We might have used something for which does not it's not applicable, and then we see the consequences. So not to compare, say that okay, there was a different way of managing. This is a different way of managing.
And thanks, Naveen. And yeah, when I think about it too, often, so we've all worked on, or many of us have worked on these projects where we're meeting with the project management office, and every month we say, oh yeah, we're about 18 months away. And then the next month we have another meeting and we're 18 months away. The next month we have another meeting and we're 18 months away. I know I very much remember working on a product where it was just constant 18 months away, 18 months away. I don't know how the executives didn't just start throwing things at us. But with Scrum, we're really, let's deliver little pieces, let's learn a little bit, and deliver little pieces, and let's learn a little bit, and deliver little pieces, and let's learn a little bit more, and constantly staying in touch with our stakeholders, with our users, and changing as we learn as well. So that's great. Thank you. The next question is an interesting one. So what happens when the product owner is not given the powers by the business to do his or her work, especially if the team ends up having to go back to the business to get clarification on what to produce? Do you have any guidance here?
So as I said, I work as consultant or coach here, and this is a quite common scenario when the product owner does not have authority. The question is like, who selected product owner on the first place? So the problem start from there. Okay, who has decided that who is going to play the role of product owner? Think about 2-3 scenarios. We have IT plus business. In that case, if the business PO come from the business, then most likely the PO will have authority to take decision in terms of what is going to be in a product, what is not going to be in a product, because they are the one who really understand what makes product better. Let's say the business has not shown any interest. They says, I don't care whether it's a waterfall or agile or anything or a scrum. Um, it's fine that you can do a scrum, but then I don't have time to come and play a role of product owner. And then you end up having an IT person who is going to play a role of product owner on behalf of business. That means you're talking more like a proxy product owner who, and I still feel that it's not even proxy, because the real meaning of proxy that you have given me the authority to make decisions on behalf of you. So it's not even the proxy. It's more like you can call it the fake product owner. So I'm just having a title, but I don't really own anything. For everything, I have to go to business. So, that's the one way of looking at. What if the business has decided a product owner, and the product owner come from the business? Only problem that I am the real business owner, but I don't have time. So I ask one of my team member, hey, why don't you go and play the role of product owner? But that person is not really passionate about the product. He is just doing because his or her boss asked them to do this role. So they don't really have any ownership, and they don't try to get into in a role of ownership. For each and everything, they will prefer not to put our own energy into it and go back to ask boss, hey, this is what the team is asking, what do you say? So here the ownership is given, but the other person is not really interested in taking the ownership and relieving their boss. Okay, now don't worry, I am going to take the ownership and I will drive it. So that also is another challenge that I deal with. So in which context you say that I am not really having the authority? That will help you to figure out how to deal with that. So it might be the individual problem, or it might be a systemic problem. If it's an individual problem, then probably you need to have a good conversation around that, what the person think about product owner role. And if it's about the systemic problem, then probably you need to go and see that how to bring a positive change towards the role of product owner, so the product owner can actually move on in a next phase where you can actually represent business. So
Great. Thanks, Naveen. So next question. How do you deal with the Scrum team members who do not embrace the Scrum events, even after they see and understand the value? If they're not embracing it, it's hard to, I guess, are they really seeing the value if they're not embracing them? But let's keep going. Specifically for a team that has been practicing Scrum for over a year at this point.
I mean, see, I think this is one of the questions that I recently got, and I was talking to CEO of the company, and we have been practicing the company is practicing is Scrum for last 1.5 years, and the question was that, hey, how to really bring somebody, or how can you really help somebody to embrace the values, the Scrum values? It's not that they don't have information. I said, can we go and put some the picture, a poster, so that it can inspire people? That it says, no, you can't believe that how many posters and messages our HR sends every day around it, but it still does not help. So what can be done? Uh, See, we also need to understand everybody is not equal. Maybe someone really may take time, maybe a year or more than that, to get in. Like I usually say, there are four kind of people. The one first kind of person is a person who is like a leader. If you go and introduce something saying, hey, can we do this? And the person jumps on, yeah, let's do it. I will drive it. And then you have a second kind of person. Those are like more like a follower. Those who say, oh, if you're going ahead, don't worry, I'm behind you. I'm going to work with you. And the third kind of people, those who are like sitting on a fence, is like, if it works, then I will go that side. Otherwise, I will not go that side. I'm fine wherever I am. But I need more evidence before I make a switch. And the fourth kind of person, those are really rigid in terms of, I know it will not work. And then the CEO replied me then and there, I know that how to deal with the fourth kind of person. Rest three, you can deal with them. So what I'm trying to say, uh, some people are not coachable. We need to understand that as well. If somebody really understands everything and still don't want, then what can you do or what can I do? The person is not coachable, and the team can highlight it as an impediment. There are certain things that you can do after this. So, I mean, there's no point of wasting time and energy around that.
Great, thanks, Naveen. And yeah, I think it's important that if it's odd if they're seeing value in it, that they aren't seeing the importance of them. So I don't know if there's a follow-on question that might come out of this. At the end of the day, we can always improve. Just ask my wife. I can always get better, right? We can always improve as a team, and the events are really set forth. Certainly, the retrospective and the daily Scrum is to how do we keep improving. And then we obviously don't know everything, and that's where our sprint planning and sprint reviews come in to make sure that we're constantly learning and getting more feedback and improving how we work. And if we think, or if team members think that has ended, then I think, as you said, there's a different systemic problem there.
Yeah.
With the members thinking that they've completed their journey, which really our journeys never end. Yeah. So here's a kind of somewhat similar, but a bit different. How do we deal with a developer who has an attitude of deadlines are useless? His attitude is we deliver when we're done. How can I persuade him to understand that we need to give the market an indication of when they can expect a new version?
I think this is something I strongly believe everyone understands. It's not that people don't understand. Everyone understands the value of setting a deadlines, because if you don't have deadlines, then you don't really stay focused. So people have a fear in committing the deadlines. They feel that what if I give a deadlines and then I'm not able to meet the deadlines? What are the consequences? Or the past might not be really good, so they might have been thinking on that whether should I go and commit for it or not. So I think it's better to have a conversation with the team to understand that what's going on, means why they feel that they cannot have a kind of deadlines. System is complex, fine, but being predictable is not always possible. But you have so many data points, at least you can forecast. Nobody is asking you to predict that what is going to be, but if you are not able to forecast, then there is something wrong with the system. So it's required more of a coaching, either the individual coaching or a team coaching, to help them to understand why they are behaving like this, what's going on in their mind. Means so it's not a simple a straight question. I always believe that everyone understands the importance of deadline. It's not they don't. Only thing that they have a fear in committing it. So why they have fear? There must be reason behind it. So need to deal with that reason rather than forcing deadlines.
Great, thanks, Naveen. So does an acceptance criteria need to be documented, and who must do this? The must is an interesting word because there's no really must. The development team, the Scrum Master, the product owner, who's documenting acceptance criteria, and do we need to have it documented?
Let's look at it in a bit different way. We are developing a new product, and since it's a new product, our understanding is not really good about how the things are going to evolve, what exactly is needed. So we want to capture our conversation. So conversation between development team and product owner. That conversation is nothing but the acceptance criteria that, guys, this is what we have discussed. If we can go and meet this, we are fine. Over the period, your understanding grows. your collaboration grows between team and PO. If you don't want to document, don't document. The second part is that who must document. The person who can type fast, they can document, because this is a conversation. So we need to ask in the team, hey, who can really type our, or record our conversation fast? So whoever can do it, the person must do that. It's something to do with the PE or development team. It's just like we are still a Scrum team. So we are a Scrum team. We just want to capture our conversation uh, for verification purpose that, okay, we are heading into the right direction. Let's do that.
Great. So, let's see. So, who's responsible for updating burn down charts? Kind of aligned with the
Means,
previous question.
yeah. This is a very simple, straightforward answer. It is for the team development team to track their own progress. So they have to do it. Nowadays, even they don't need to do that, because many team uses some electronic tools like Jira, Rally, or something. The tool automatically update that. So the team has to just go and update their task, and the burn down will get, the task, will get reflected on the burn down. So you really don't need to update anything. But if you have a physical things, is for the team track it their own progress. So the team has to go and update it.
Yep, and exactly. If you're using a, well, even if you're using a whiteboard, you're moving your tickets from one place to another, or your work items from one place to another. If you're using an electronic like a Trello, you're moving
Yeah,
your cards from one place to another. It's an individual thing. The person doing the work. There is
yeah,
no one person responsible for managing downs, for example. And also remember, it's not something that's mandatory in Scrum either, managing burn
yeah.
downs and that sort of work. Um,
And sometimes it's misleading, Eric. Like
yeah,
misleading in the sense, like, you can look at the burn down and things looks perfect. Like, oh, everything is going as per plan. We were having 400 hours to burn in a 10 days. Now we are on day 8. We are only left with 60 hours to complete the work. But if you go and look at your sprint backlog, and then you see that none of the story has get closed. So it's quite possible that the story is not getting closed. Only tasks are getting closed. All the story has something here and there pending. So it doesn't sound like we are really building a rhythm and we are having a continuous flow of work. Quite possible that we are working still more like an waterfallish way. All the development design activities is done, and for all the stories, testing is still pending, and that's why we only see the very little task pending on the burn down. But in reality, the number of a story has not closed that on the same speed. So looking at in isolation may give a different uh, result. So look at along with the Scrum board or a sprint backlog, whatever that people calls, and then come then see that then you will probably get some better a result, a better forecast from it.
yeah, and also just because we're delivering a lot doesn't mean that we're delivering value.
Yeah,
That value can be measured in many ways. It's value to the customer or the user, but also value to back to the business and the teams that are delivering it. One of the questions I get a lot, and I've seen this question quite a bit, which is who determines value? And people will quickly say, well, if the customer is getting value out of it, then the development team delivered value. The problem is if it costs me $2 to build and I sell it for one, now, yes, the customer is getting value, but we're losing money as a business. That's not sustainable. So are we really delivering value? So it's a combination of this of all stakeholders, not just the end users or the
yeah,
customers. So here's one. So Mark asks, what are the factors that would determine a team to go with Scrum or with Kanban, or go from Scrum to Kanban? And I'll kind of start off here with, remember, you don't have to go from one or to the other. Certainly, the actually, I just read a survey yesterday that's been done by a German organization that says about 70% of all Scrum teams also use practices from Kanban. These aren't exclusive; they can actually be quite inclusive. Do you have some thoughts, recommendations around Scrum or Kanban, Scrum with Kanban, those sorts of things?
Um, I think there are various Kanban nowadays. So when I say various Kanban, is like we have somebody was explaining me, capital K Kanban, a small K Kanban, Kanban management. The Kanban that I know, it primarily comes from the Toyota Production System, a Lean or TPS, whatever you call, is just a tool for visualization. So is a tool which gives a visualization, help you to limit the work in progress so that you can have better throughput, and then a tool which is based on the pool-based system. So is a pool-based system for visualization which limit your work in progress to improve your throughput. Um, do we need in the Scrum? Um, I usually feel no, you don't need. Scrum is a time box, which is like most companies do it 2 weeks to 4 weeks sprint, either 2 weeks. Very few do 4 weeks sprint. Maybe I see more often in Malaysia, people do 4 weeks sprint compared to other part of the world. So 2 weeks or 4 weeks, this is quite common. You have a small team to work on. You don't really need to visualize too much about those stuff. But there can be a way to look at it. Like we are building a complex product, and then we launch our product in the market, and product is doing good. Now we are working on a small enhancement or adding some new feature, but it might not be that complex the way it was before we launched the product in market. Now the complexity is in our process that we are working on enhancement. We are also working on certain bugs or certain change requests that asked by the customers or something like that. Now we might get a work from the different sources. Probably you can use some kind of Kanban board to visualize the swim lane, and you can also go and look at that. Okay, from each swim lane we must take some work. So the sprint does not turn out to be like only fixing the bug or only working on a change request or only adding the enhancement. So it's like gives you the visualization, and in a better visualization, and helps you to do a better prioritization, and still allows you to have better throughput. And that's where you go and start putting a WIP limit. Okay, for for enhancement, this is our WIP limit, or for change request, this is our WIP limit. So maybe at that stage, when you really get pulled into the multiple directions and you have multiple stakeholders and all, in that case, maybe you can introduce the Kanban within the Scrum. Is Kanban alone can be used? Maybe. I, in fact, to go and say Kanban can still be very good for the waterfall process as well, because waterfall also has a phase approach. So we can put all the phases in our flow, in a Kanban flow, and then we go through the requirement and start moving from the one flow to another flow to another flow, and we can use pull-well system. So Kanban is a tool. It can fit in any kind of process to enable visualization, limit your work in progress, improve your throughput, and better to have on a pull-based system as per the Kanban, so that you are not pushing the work to the next flow in a traditional, having a traditional approach of waterfall. So you change the process. So it works in a Kanban, I mean, Scrum, waterfall, or a standalone, or I have seen the product owner using it for managing the backlog. I have even seen using the Kanban board for release management. Like we have developed few feature, but it has to go through some certain certification process. Like in healthcare, I need to do certain certification process, and it has to go through that way. In that case, you can use even Kanban board over there. So in a Scrum team, when I teach or when I go and look at the team, I say there are three areas probably there you can use Kanban. One, pre-development, another is development, and third, if you are dealing into in a complex compliance system like a banking or a healthcare and all, then probably you can even use it for the release management. So um, but do it only when it makes sense. Don't do it for the sake of doing it.
Okay. Thanks, Naveen. So please, can you talk about the relationship between development and our developers and testers? We agree that devs test their own work, unit tests, etc. But how can we? Uh, but how do we best prevent devs throwing the code over the wall to testers? Do you have experience in this and how to make this as productive as possible?
Um, I think I have been known for sharing the developer tester story in my workshops. Um, see, the whole thing is start from uh, one of means the division or all these things start from the sprint planning in most cases. If you go and look at in a many Scrum team, you will see that they have a product backlog item or user story, whatever they call, and they will go and start creating subtasks. If you look at the subtask is like in most cases it sounds like a waterfall steps. Uh, Analysis, design, development, writing unit test, writing test cases, preparing test plan, writing code, doing code review, executing test. Now you have all these, like a kind of phases, waterfall phases for each of the PBI. Now the problem comes like you are a tester, I am a developer, and I am writing code. I am done development task. In the queue, the next task says execute functional test. Now there is a word called test, and you are a tester, and I know you are in my team. Then why will I go and execute the functional test? Because you are a tester. Now, if I have to deal with it, how can I deal? How can I do things differently from here? So in most cases, I go and look at that sprint planning and the way they create the task, and I discourage to having a skill-based task, because a skill-based task is the first source for your conflict. So if I don't have a skill-based task, if you really better not to have task, but still you have a task, then think about a component-driven task. When I say component-based task, like I have a back end, a front end, a middleware. When I say back end is done, then I'm expecting that everything is done in the back end, including the testing. Who did it? I don't care. So once you stop recognizing that who has done it and whose name was against that, things automatically improves from there. Um, but if you try to just coach people and do it, then yeah, it will, but it may take time. So this is what my experience so far.
And part of it's get the testers on the Scrum team. Don't make it a throw it over the wall. Let's the Scrum testing should be part of and certainly can be part of uh, the Scrum team in those roles on the Scrum team. And let's make everybody feel as if and be a part of a single team so that we're working together toward a common goal. So does the definition of ready impact or have impact on performance?
Definition of ready. CS means there is 2-3 ways to look at it. In fact, I had an kind of a little tough discussion on some post on the LinkedIn around it. We need to look at that. What is the definition of ready? A Scrum guide says product backlog has to be ready. I mean, it's a product better to have product backlog ready for upcoming sprint. Now, if our definition of done only says that, hey guys, as a team, we have a kind of reminder or checklist. Hey guys, have we analyzed our upcoming requirements, or have we looked at into it a little deeper, that whether the items is suitable for the sprint, or do we need to go and split it further, or do we need to go and add any missing rules or something like that. If this is just a reminder, a checklist for you, there's no harm in having it, and probably you don't need it for longer period. Maybe when you start, then probably you have it for some time to serve you as a reminder. Once it become a habit, then you don't need it. But what if you're working in a totally different context? Like I work for a company, I am a bank, and you are a service provider. I outsource work to you, and I give you the requirement. Okay? Now I give you the requirement, and your job is to develop and give it back to me. Um, we don't know each other very well. We have a contractual obligation, and within this contractual obligation, we have to defend too many things. So if your premise is wrong from the beginning, you may prefer to have definition of ready. Uh, it's not for the product. To be honest, most of the time we have definition of ready to ensure that when something goes wrong, to whom we can go and blame. Okay, so definitely, that's going to impact your performance. That's going to impact your collaboration. That's going to bring a contractual contract gain within the team. So these are not good thing if your foundation is wrong. If the foundation is just to have a checklist to serve you better as a or as a reminder to develop a habit of doing a refinement, or doing a refinement within the planning, whatever the way you are doing the refinement, then have it. Means there's no as such hard and fast rule that you cannot have a checklist for yourself. You can always have a reminders or checklist for yourself, but it should not be a contract. That's all I'm saying.
Great. So Scrum is suited for complex projects. So is it suitable for mid-size or small projects? I think one of the things that Amir is pulling out here might be missing a few things. Small can be complex. There's many very small projects and products that can be complex, and we've seen Scrum work in things. So there's a great blog article up on the Scrum.org website that talks about how people are managing children with ADHD using Scrum because of the structure. Because those children who are having to deal with that's a very complex problem. Small project, I would say, but complex problem. It's about dealing with complex problems, not big, large, small, medium-sized projects. But what are some of your thoughts, Naveen, about Scrum for different size projects?
I mean, as you said, size does not matter. It's the complexity that matter, and complexity. I mean, sometimes is like beyond our thought process. I can give you the two very simple example of complexity. I met a company. They are more into making a juice, so fruit juice, and this is we want to come with a different flavor. I don't know which flavor will work. So we want to run an experiment to see that, hey, we are going to mix a couple of fruits and then come with the new juice flavor. Will people buy it? Before we go and make it as the kind of put it on assembly line, we want to test our product. So before we productize, we want to validate it. I met another company. They are into in the ladies footwear, like making a shoes for women. And this shoes, they say this is one of the complex product because something might be fancy, may not be comfortable. Something comfortable might not be fancy. And we need a fancy and comfortable shoes for women. Now, how to design it? So, and so maybe something very small, but it still can be complex, and you can still go and run things in a Scrum, and you can get a better outcome from there. So size does not matter, complexity matter. Definition of complexity is in a very simple way that do you really know what is needed, and do you really know how to do that? In these two areas, that how and what will help you to decide whether your work or your product is complex or not. Um, if you are so sure that you know exactly what is needed and you know how to do that and you have done in past, go and do that. Yes. Why will you go through the Scrum? Just do it. You have a SOP, standard operating procedure. Just apply those SOPs, get the intended outcome, and move on. If you don't know, then be an iterative and incremental to learn from there, and then see what next you can do.
Great. Thanks, Naveen. So next question. Have you worked on any projects for using Agile for business integration? And do you have any examples or any ideas? Even, is Scrum the right thing to use if I'm doing business integration, or do you have any other suggestions?
No, I haven't worked on a business integration, and I don't understand what is a business integration means what exactly is the meaning of business integration. So I will not prefer to comment on that part.
That's fine. And Amir, if you have any further clarification, feel free to send that in. So right now we have one additional question, and then if more come in, we'll continue going here. The Scrum Master is an enabler. Can you elaborate on that point and maybe provide some examples of how does a Scrum Master enable? What's their role there?
Um, enablement is on a multiple level. So first enablement comes like enablement of Scrum processes. So the team decided to go in a Scrum. I got hired as a Scrum Master for my team, and my job is to enable my team to start practicing Scrum. Second level of enablement happen when the individual gets stuck. Hey, whatever you say makes sense, but I don't see anything new. We are just renaming the role, or we are calling. This is what we have been doing it for long. So somebody got stuck. I need to enable individuals. And the third level is when the stakeholders get stuck. Like, it sounds all fancy, but do you really think it's going to work? And I'm not really buying this idea. So it means I know if this person continue this way, then it may become an impediment for my team. So I need to deal with the stakeholders. I need to help the stakeholders to understand the value of incremental and iterative delivery, and I have to enable the individual so that it can help my team indirectly. And the fourth level is when you go and enable by making suitable organization changes with the help of other department. It can be the human resource, or it can be the facility, or it can be even um, like a finance, like how do they do the budgeting, or so all this area. Your job is to bring a suitable change in the organization that enable your team to do better job. So in a in a in a different way, you are serving this for things. You are serving to your team, you're serving to your product owner, serving to your organization, your stakeholders, or you are enabling them in order to get the better outcome from the team. So this is what I look at, what the enabler means. Recently, in my current engagement where I work as coach, um, the biggest challenge was how to design the KPI that enable the teamwork rather than individual work. So we we had a better dialogue with the HR and understand that why they are not doing it. They says, no, we are ready to do that, but we don't have any data point how to do it, or we don't have much. So, being a facilitator, you go and facilitate the discussions, dialogues between the various stakeholders to see the intended outcome. You bring some industry expert, those who might have done something similar, to gather more insight about it. So you are enabling the processes, supporting processes to perform your team better. So this is nothing but the enablement over
Thanks, Naveen. Do you have any advice for somebody new to being a Scrum Master? Things based on personal experiences that you've run into and other things. But we've got Mikhail is a new Scrum Master and really looking for some advice on how to get started.
there. How to get started? I think that area. I think many people now understand. They come to the Scrum training, Scrum Master training, learn about the role, that what exactly they are supposed to be doing. So they go and start, and usually the start is quite good. But the problem comes when they get stuck to the next level. Like, okay, the process is in place. I do see that we are able to do retrospective review, planning, and all. But then we are not getting the result what we were dreaming of, and uh, people are not really sounding on board with this idea. So that's where you need to go and learn about other, uh, you know, other area that helps you to do the job better, which includes improving the facilitation skills or the coaching skills, or you need to learn that how to do the mentoring. Means, sometimes mentoring become more like uh, forcing. So it should not be force. It should not like I'm forcing you to do that. You need to do the mentoring over there. So this kind of things, and I think Scrum.org has a quite interesting program called PSM2 on the same line, where um, you go and talk about the different stances of a Scrum Master in order to understand how can I help my team to move on. So if I learn those things, I will definitely be able to move to the next step. If I don't learn to that, then I may end up becoming a process champion. So I might be able to do the process very well, but I am not getting the desired outcome. I don't see the team is really, really on board or enrolled to the new processes. They are just there, they are doing it. I am forcing them to do, and things going like that. So if you are a Scrum Master, first step, obviously go and start looking in the processes. Bring the Scrum processes, go by book. If you look at a Scrum guide, you can get help from there. Go and read lot many articles is on Scrum.org, or talk to any of the PST that how to pick a start. Once you start, and that's your journey start from there. Down the line, 2-3 sprint. Once to start things getting settled, like and then you will see that you are missing something, like, okay, what next I can do. And that's the time you have to think about how can I go and learn all these different stances of a Scrum Master and start helping my team to do things better from there. So this is how I look at, and this is what I advise to all the Scrum Master, those who have just started or thinking of starting the role of a Scrum Master.
Thanks, Naveen. And yeah, definitely go check out the Scrum Master Learning Path on Scrum.org. If you just go to resources for Scrum Masters, there's a lot of learning and additional things to help guide you. We have a few more questions. I think we've got a little bit more time. Who decides the sprint length?
The Scrum team. There is this is one of the trick that I run in my training. I ask, if the complexity is high for the work, will you prefer to have a shorter sprint or longer sprint? and most of the time people end up saying it, complexity is high. High means we don't have a requirement clarity. So that's why the complexity is high. So requirement clarity is not there. Then do you need longer sprint cycle or you need shorter sprint cycle? And in most cases, people say longer. Second, I ask if you are not sure how to do that, like the tech or a technology is complex or integration is complex, then do you need longer sprint or shorter sprint? And again, they say longer sprint. Actually, if the requirement clarity is low, then the sprint cycle has to be shorter. If the technical complexity is high, still you need to think about uh, having a shorter cycle. Why? Because we have to ensure that we are developing the right product in a right way. What if we are doing things in the right way, but we are not doing right product? That means we'll end up having a lot more rework. What if we are building right product and we are not building right way? Then we may end up having a lot more technical debt. And what if we are not having right product and not building right way? Then there is no hope at all. And so we need to think about how we can amplify feedback loop when the complexity is high. If the complexity goes down, then you may change your sprint cycle if you wish to. So who decides? Not you, not me, not PO, not development team. The Scrum team sits together and look at that where we stand as of today. Some organization they have some just for a rhythm or just for synchronization they have a predefined sprint cycle. Like I work for a company where they say no matter what we are going to have 2 weeks of a sprint. Um, so in those cases, those if the organization policies are there, then people just go and follow it. Otherwise, sit down and look at that in your complexity graph, that where you stand. If it's high, go for a faster feedback cycle. A 1 week, 2 weeks sprint probably will help you to reduce your risk, because one of the factor we run the sprint is to minimize our risk. And second, when requirement clarity is not there, then we run the sprint also to engage our stakeholder to gather the feedback. So this two factor has to be in a consideration when you are deciding the sprint length as a team, if you don't have organization mandate for that.
Great, thanks, Naveen. I want to be conscious of our time box here, and I know it's also getting late there. So we've got probably time for one more question. We've got a couple in here, so I'll just pick one. So the Scrum Guide says the Scrum Master participates as a peer team member in the sprint retrospective from the accountability over the Scrum process. Can you explain what that means?
So I think one of the questions when I was talking about, I said there is a management involved. There is a management, means all these three are management role. Um, or all these three are a leadership role. So I look at the product owner and then see the product owner as a product leader. Or product owner has to demonstrate product leadership skills and management skills towards the managing the backlog as stakeholder. Same way, the development team is there to demonstrate the leadership skills in terms of delivery and manages delivery and quality. And then we have a Scrum Master. Now, a Scrum Master is going to look at the Scrum processes and also facilitate changes or cultural changes or a mindset changes within the organization, within the team and within the organization. So I look at them as a cultural leadership. Now, all these three management role and all these three leadership role, when they come for the retrospective, you cannot say that no, we are not going to look at process, we are not going to talk about change, we are not going to talk about the way we are managing the impediment, we are not going to look at, no, I have to go and review that also, correct? I have to look at the way we have been doing the work. So So retrospective is about how we are doing things, and we as a team, who means team people, how we have been interacting or how we have been acting like a team. So it's a Scrum team retrospective, and a Scrum Master is a part of it. And Scrum Master owns certain management role and certain leadership behavior, and those needs to be get uh, reviewed as well along with the team to get the right feedback. So why the Scrum Master has to get treated separately, or why the product owner has to get treated separately? In some situation you will see that uh, maybe some wrong perception somewhere. Some team does not allow PO to come in retrospective, and I says why? Means what if the requirement gathering process was not right? When will you do the retrospective for that? Do you think the PO has to go and do it separately, or it's important for PO to sit down here along with the team and figure out that how to improve the requirement gathering process going forward in order to have better backlog? So this is a misconception in most cases. The team just need a little bit of education on that part, and they usually improve it. So
Excellent. Well, thank you, Naveen. Lindsay, if we can go to the next slide. Just want to be conscious of time. So I had mentioned, and Naveen did as well, the learning paths. Definitely check them out. We're all about continuously learning and improving. These learning paths hopefully can help you do that. They're free. There's lots of free content. They're constantly being updated and added to as well. And there are different paths for Scrum Masters, product owners, development team members, as well as Agile leaders. And if you just go, you can see the links there, or if you go to the Scrum.org website and click resources for the particular role you're looking for, you'll find all of that information there. Next slide. So with that, I just want to say thank you very much. Don't forget to follow us, follow Naveen, and I want to thank Naveen for all of your time today. I know it's getting late there, and thank you all for from all over the world for participating today. With that, thank you, and have a good rest of your day.
yeah, thank you, Eric. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending, and see you sometime somewhere. Bye. Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.